we want to say cause, effect, but the perspective here and my rapid turmoil resolution session is it's not that. It's the way your mind is processing the information. That becomes very liberating. Maybe not liberating, but causes hope. Oh, so if you just mine for that stuckness, that blip in the way my mind is processing information, all of this suffering will go away. And the answer is yes.
Welcome to the MINDTRX Podcast, where we explore practical insights for living with greater clarity, freedom, and fulfillment. I'm Dr. Paul Scheele, and today I'm joined by Mary Petto, author of The Family Guide to the Law of Attraction, for a powerful conversation about how real change happens when we stop trying to fix ourselves and start understanding how the mind truly works. In this episode, we explore why freedom and joy aren't abstract concepts, but essential signals that guide growth and expansion. Mary shares how many people try to consciously create new outcomes while unknowingly running old subconscious loops, and why recognizing those loops is the key to lasting transformation. We also talk about perception, attention, and how your nervous system influences what you experience in life. Along the way, Mary introduces ideas like her purple car theory. She explains what it means to be not broken but looped, and reveals how restoring a sense of safety allows creativity, clarity, and possibility to naturally return. If you're ready to move forward without rehashing the past and to reconnect with joy as a guiding force in your life, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. Hello, Mary. Welcome to the MINDTRX Podcast. I'm really glad we were able to do this.
Me too. I'm very excited to talk to you today.
Well, I loved your book, The Family Guide to the Law of Attraction. I thought it wasn't heavy or metaphysical. It was very accessible and a great way to use consciousness to create the life that we want to live. And there was a phrase that you used from Esther Hicks that I just really love. It was that the basis of life is freedom and the purpose of life is joy. How do those ideas inform your work?
Fundamentally, what we are learning and what we're here to do is to fully embrace this human experience. And this line that the basis is freedom means that there's infinite possibilities and that we can set our goals and our intentions on something that we want because it feels right, because it resonates, because it makes our spirits dance, and we can head down that path and then decide, hey, that's not for me necessarily. But guess what? There's so much opportunity that I can look over here now and I can have a new experience and I can keep expanding my consciousness and I can learn more and more and take in more and serve more and, make an impact on people in all different ways. And there's nothing that says you are on a specific course. And there's nothing that says you need to know how to do it, to let it unfold. And that is why we're here. And when people understand that, they begin to open up, relax, and let the rewiring begin to resonate with all the other forces and just let things happen. It's such a fundamental way of being is to make peace with where you are and know that everything is going to work out for you. Another Abraham Hicks quote.
Yeah, well, that's a great way to go. And the other way, this idea of letting joy be the guiding mechanism for the decisions you make about your life I reflected how many people I know that when they think of an opportunity or a possibility in their life, they immediately shut down as opposed to opening up because, oh, I can't do that. I'm constrained by my past. I can't possibly do a future that I've never experienced before. So I really love the idea of trusting that there's something bigger that's available to us, but we have to follow the energy line to that greater future that's trying to emerge. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing. It's that permission to open up and let yourself be pulled by the breadcrumbs that the universe is leaving out for you. And
Yeah,
the way to see them, the way to see those breadcrumbs is to be open, to understand the field of potentiality is there for you. And actually, in the book, I talk about what I've coined as the purple car theory. And that being that when you're open to noticing things that bring you joy or that you find interest in, even the littlest things, like when you're at the parking lot of the coffee shop and you notice a car in a color you've never seen before. I like to use purple as an example, but a model you've never seen or a color you've never seen. You go, huh, I've never seen that before. That's interesting. I like it. I'm attracted to it. And immediately now, your reticular activating system it goes kink and it forms a new little wire. And then you get out on the highway and you see hundreds of them and you hadn't seen them before. And we all have that moment where like, wow, the coincidences, the craziness. Did I just conjure up 100 of these cars in purple? No. But once we're open, we see those breadcrumbs and everything starts aligning. But it takes that open interest
yeah.
to see those breadcrumbs.
I
So,
love that
yes,
idea that the thing that starts the process is a joyful experience that you want to pursue or that you open to. Appreciation, gratefulness, all of these are going to also help to do that. What do you love? And if we allow that to be a guiding force, yeah, then the universe is always putting the gutter guards on the bowling alley to get us where we want to go, right?
exactly. Yes,
So one of the things that you talk about is that a lot of people try to attract a lot of new outcomes for themselves using law of attraction, but they're running old loops unconsciously. So why is clearing those loops such an important thing to do before conscious creation can occur?
absolutely. Yes. And that's how I got into doing the healing work that I do now. I started out um, coaching people with manifestation, the law of attraction, speaking about it, helping people, sales teams, what have you, bringing forward all those right time, right place moments. And where it didn't work, when I took a deep dive, I realized, what's commonly known as limiting beliefs could be things just sort of running in the background at the subconscious level. And why you've got to clear that out is that if we want to, obviously the law of attraction is working all the time, but if we want to consciously leverage it, right, to get that stuff, those experiences, those relationships that we want, you have to be able to resonate at that level, embody it, visualize it, state your affirmations. And the reason you have to do that is because we have a vibrational energy running through us, a vibrational frequency. We are molecular beings with electromagnetic frequencies running through us. And they are aligning with the quantum field. That's where neuroscience meets quantum physics, right? And so it is that resonation that creates those right time, right place moments, the coincidences, all those things that we just talked about that pull us forward. And so when we do practices like visualization and affirmations or notice things like a cool new car model, we're sending out a frequency. and our reticular activating system is, matching up and all of this great stuff. However, the frequencies coming out of us are not just coming from our conscious thoughts and emotions, it's also coming from the full body experience. And so, if there is, let's call it a leaky energy from some thoughts or emotions or feeling sensations that really don't allow that full embodiment, you're not going to get back what you want consciously. It's going to be stuck or it's going to be blurry, or unfortunately, you could be attracting whatever it is that that subconscious level has created and is perpetuating in a loop because of a stuck thought, an emotional turmoil running below the surface.
And it could be something as simple as I'm not enough, or there isn't enough, or what would happen if I did this and it didn't work out. And so we're projecting in front of us whatever it is that's trying to protect us from more of those kinds of mistakes. So you introduced to me this idea of rapid resolution therapy, and I don't know really what it is. It sounds very resonant to everything that I know, especially in working beyond those non-conscious imprints and patterns that are going on. So could you give a little explanation of what an RRT session looks like?
Yes. Let's, well, I like to say it a few different ways. So technically it's a trauma resolution coaching method designed to clear subconscious blocks and emotional static without you needing to rehash your story. Energetically, it's the moment your system stops gripping a memory it didn't realize it could let go of. And practically, it just works. It's fast, it's gentle, it's permanent, and it people will come to me for things like disbelief that they could have anything beyond what they have, or it could also be deeper, and I'm doing air quotes for your listeners, deeper things such as guilt, grief, jealousy, heartbreak, anxiety, panic attacks, OCD, PTSD, loneliness. So, what happens in a session and what makes it different, you almost hit the nail on the head there, is unlike traditional talk therapy, which is conscious conversations, right? You're having a conversation. You're doing all the talking, probably. You're talking about what happened to you, what somebody did to you, what you've experienced, how you grew up. But the fundamental perspective with rapid resolution therapy is that our thoughts, behaviors, and emotions are being generated from a place different from where we're experiencing them. And so, what we mean by that is it's being generated in the subconscious as a mechanism of the sympathetic nervous system trying to protect us or stuck in a loop. And you're over here having a rational conversation with your therapist. And oftentimes you could keep talking forever about it and it's not changing. And the truth is, if we could just talk ourselves out of suffering, then we'd all probably walk around kind of happy. You would say, I'm upset and I'm stuck in a loop because this happened to me and this person did this to me. And then if your therapist said, well, that's in the past, it's not real anymore, you can move on. And then you would say, oh, okay. And there you have it. There's your conscious conversation and everybody would be happy. But what's happening in a session with me, and by the way, my certification here, which by the way, I'm one of only 30 people in the world who has gotten certified in this as a specialist in rapid resolution therapy. I wish there were many, many more because it is so fast. It is so natural. It's just gentle. It's almost fun in a session. Dare I say fun? But what's happening is I am integrating conversation that's conscious and unconscious. I'm speaking with the subconscious. As a matter of fact, I'm doing most of the talking. Isn't that a relief? I'm doing most of the talking, and my intention is to get you clear. I don't ask you to take responsibility for your healing. If I were a hairdresser or a barber, I wouldn't hand you the scissors and say, this is what you need to do. And if you don't do it right, you're not really committed to the process. I take care of this for you. It is my intention to get you clear. I do most of the talking, and you come out on the other side where that energy that your sympathetic nervous system, whose prime directive is to keep you alive, right? It's all well intentioned. These loops that you get stuck in are just a blip in the way mind is processing the information. But once we communicate with that level and they get the message that they do not need to protect us from anything as far as this topic is concerned, whatever that is, the message is clear, the energy stops leaking out, any physical effects you might have had from this loop. Of course, how stress or trauma in the mind can equate to physical distress, physical disease, right? So we clear this message at the subconscious level. They get the message. He, she gets the message. No longer needs this extra protection. Thank you very much. And then energy goes to where it needs to go. And so not only are you back into a restorative parasympathetic state, but now you're fully resourced. You can experience creativity, strategy, and visualization. Now we're back to what gives me joy, what is exciting, and now I can start that process of
So
embodying.
you've really put exponents on the power of the law of attraction at that point because they're not stuck in that loop. I loved one of your phrases, you're not broken, you're looped. And one of the things that you focus or the things that you focus on are patterns, triggers, body sensations, and not the stories that we tell ourselves. So why is it helpful? Why does resolving the response matter more than revisiting the past? Because when I hear someone who's really looped, stuck in a pattern, they want to keep telling me why they're stuck in the pattern. And having been trained in NLP, we say, well, let's start here and let's go create the future, right? Rather than trying to do therapy about the history. So what is it about resolving the response that's key here?
The loop is it's like this. If I punched a pillow and took my hand away, my fist is no longer causing that pillow harm, but an imprint can be left. And so if the pillow had a sympathetic nervous system, it doesn't see time necessarily if it gets stuck protecting you. It doesn't see time as in the past. It could think it is happening now or is about to happen, or even if it's in the past that it just happened. So it evokes thoughts, sensations, and emotions to get you to do something about it, to make it from not happening, to get it to stop happening,
So
to
if I'm
prevent
about
it.
ready to give a presentation and I suddenly feel my heart racing and I can't breathe and I think, oh, I'm having a panic attack, then the idea is I've got to go do therapy to figure out why I'm having a panic attack. Not really. We can take that, whatever triggering event is, whatever response pattern is right now, and you can start working right from there. Is that it?
That's right. So, what's interesting about panic attacks is, if we understand that what happens, the fear response is all energy goes to legs, right? So, if I were a bunny rabbit and I was enjoying my time in the garden eating flowers, maybe I had a little bunny buddy and I'm just hanging out, I'm in parasympathetic. But if data comes in that there's a wolf around the corner, a whiff, a something, that data comes in, what happens is sympathetic nervous system does not want you to be confused about what to do, does not want that rabbit to keep eating or enjoying or doing, replicating itself, whatever bunnies do for fun. It doesn't want any confusion. So it will blow up that data really big and all energy runs to the legs for running away. And what happens to the physical body is blood runs there, all other systems slow down or shut down, right? So the heart rate has to do what it has to do. Digestion stops, and that's when we get that stomach ache, right? Whenever we're scared. The bunny rabbit will take a little poop because it's got to empty to take a run. That's why when we get nervous, all of these systems happen all at once. But what happens in a panic attack is the fear response creates a fear. And so that creates the out of body experience. Like, what's happening to my body? Why is my heart beating so fast? Right. And so it's kind of replicating itself on top of itself. And so,
That's kind of the advantage, disadvantage of having higher level cognitive function, right? We immediately
exactly.
try to figure it out and as a result add more to the problem.
Exactly. And it's one of the first symptoms is the overthinking, rapid thinking mind. And, so I like to say sometimes, we've figured out that, we can take out a tonsil. We can take out our tonsils. We don't need it. Our wisdom teeth, um, our appendix, if it's causing us trouble. With our advanced minds as human beings, we still have this old jalopy, we're mammal, we're part of the animal kingdom, but we don't need that thing anymore, right? So it's like, so we get it, we can build bridges, which is fantastic, but our data comes in, the bunny rabbit only gets data in real time. They have this beautiful mindful mind, only in the present. You can't come back to the bunny an hour later and go, God, thank God you survived that wolf. You ran so fast. The bunny would panic. And what are you talking about? Where's a wolf? There's no memory. But
Mm.
our data, our wolf data comes in, not just real time, but from the past memories and imagined about the future because of this advanced mind. And boy, do we could get ourselves in trouble, right? Just because of that piece of it. But yeah, but it is kind of liberating for people to first learn. We tend to think cause and effect, right? And that's kind of what's happening in therapy. That's the retelling of the story. And that's, loop. And I'm going to tell it again and again and again in the hopes, because the sympathetic nervous system is pushing you to make it not have happened, right? Prevent it from happening. I'm going to try to make it stop happening. So it's going to keep looping as though you could protect yourself or stop it from having happened. And but even if we're not, we're not feeling great, it's looping in our minds, even if we're not talking about it. It's just there. But the thing is, if we can step back and try to stop being rational, and we apply cause and effect to everything. I feel this way, and I have these issues. I'm in turmoil right now because of X. This
Mm.
happened. This happened. He did this to me. She did this to me. I ended up like this. There was a fire, whatever it is. And we want to say cause and effect. But the perspective here and my rapid turmoil resolution session is it's not that. It's the way your mind is processing the information that becomes very liberating. Maybe not liberating, but causes hope. Oh, so if you just mine for that stuckness, that blip in the way my mind is processing information, all of this suffering will go away. And the answer is yes. And we know this because three different people can be in a room where something happens. And one, it could mess up their whole day. One could end up really angry. And one could just think, I wish the best for the person that I just witnessed having something happen and move on with their day. So you've got all these different responses to the same event. Therefore, it's not the event that causes your emotion, it's the way your mind is processing it. So there's a way out. We're just gonna fix that. And it's not you because you can't change the past. So if you think the past is the reason for your problems, then you're not as hopeful that there's a way out.
So the conscious mind often gets that wrong because it's looking for cause and effect. So working directly with the non-conscious makes a lot more sense. It's the it's the place in which a lot of the conscious response patterns are coming from. So you can work directly with that. So out of curiosity, how does restoring a sense of safety allow the nervous system to stand down? How do you get to that place where a person is assured that they're okay and that they can trust and, as you and I would say, surrender to the greater good that's trying to come to them?
Well, here's the good news. They don't have to try or trust
Hmm.
that
Okay.
it's going to work because it just does. And there's a way, like throughout the session, where we can actually gauge progress. We can do temperature checks throughout the 90 minutes or 2 hours where we're having this life-changing conversation. As the message gets through, and it gets through um, let's call it specialized breathing, a little bit of an altered state, perhaps, lots of metaphor, lots of allegory, and discussions about perspective. When the subconscious inner mind gets that message that it's safe, that it can stand down, that there's no longer a need for this extra protection that it's been providing. You consciously just feel the relief. There's nothing to decide about, right? You can gauge. It stopped. The loop has stopped. Let me try to get it back. Oh, I can't get it back. And the beautiful thing is, too, about those stories that you had previously labeled as the cause of your turmoil. Listen, we're not asking you to forget. We're not asking you to forget your story. What we're trying to achieve is that you can retell your story from a neutral place, from a place where you can now tell your story in a way that serves others, right? Because turmoil thrives in isolation. And there's no doubt that when people tell their stories and someone else hears it and it resonates for them and they feel like, oh, I'm not alone in this, suddenly some of that pain starts to dissipate. And now there's a resource for them. And so it's just a beautiful thing when a story shifts from being the cause of your turmoil to being perhaps a light for others.
That's excellent. And the freedom that you now experience is something that begins to lead the way rather than the trauma or the effort to stay safe or the fear or the hypothetical cause of all of this malaise, right? So this starts to make what you refer to as a quantum loop, isn't it? Or quantum leap, right? So describe what you consider, describe what you define as a quantum leap forward for people. Because I think everybody wants one, but they're not sure necessarily what that means or how they're going to
Yes.
get there.
Yeah. So the quantum leap is, if you can imagine it this way, I could decide, I could decide, for my career, for instance, um, I didn't get a college education, but I have a job, but I don't want this anymore. I want to be an executive. I want to work on the top floor of my building. I want to wear the nice suits and earn the financial abundance. And so we tend to think we know how to do everything. It's understandable, right? Well, I have to go back to school. I've got to get my degree. I've got to start at an executive junior position. I've got to earn my keep and, make my way and keep applying for jobs and put in the sweat equity, right? But if you can really harness how the law of attraction or this law of vibration works, and you can fully, A, embody that, have devotion to that vision of being the top floor executive, wearing the clothes that you want to wear, having the financial abundance, and really resonate to that point where it's your vibrational energy putting it out. By the way, the secret, of course, is being really grateful for what you've got now, feeling feelings of the joy of that vision that you want, the emotion behind it. And the most important thing is forgetting the how, right? Forget that you think you know how. Allow, surrender, just keep being in that vibrational energy of the devotion to that vision and allow the quantum field, the fields of potentiality, to deliver that, hey, here's an opportunity mid-floor. No, you don't need that degree. Here's why. We like you because XYZ, and then you're whoop, you've quantum leaped up. We see it all the time. Sometimes we talk about people, they stepped in poop, they got lucky, they were in the right place at the right time. The quantum leap comes when you fully embody what it is you want, and you can end up there without going through all these steps where we're separate and we think we have to control everything and we have to set goals. And, we're in that season now, right? New Year's resolutions and setting goals for the new year. It automatically sets up a kind of defensive, that's not natural. That's not part of my pattern. I have to make changes. I have to do, have to, should, have to, should. And, that's going to start reading to the sympathetic nervous system like, ooh, danger, different. And so it will throw up thoughts and things that prevent that change. But when you have a devotion to the outcome you want, that's pulling you through very differently, sending out really different signals. And that's how the quantum leaps happen. And
That's
that's
neat.
what we mean. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that happens, by the way. You don't have to even be so positive. We were talking about, being able to tell your story even from a neutral perspective. And I have in the book on page 67, a sort of upside down triangle, right, where our electromagnetic frequency is really constricted at the bottom and where it starts to open up. And that's where that field of possibilities starts to come in. It starts to come in at neutral, right? You don't have to be so positive per se. You just have to be present and neutral. And that's when the quantum leaps can really happen for you.
Yeah, the key is not to be actively negating. And I love the idea that a lot of goal setting or shoulding on ourself is about imposing an anti-freedom, right? Oh, I can't do that because. And
Brilliant.
if we could keep moving in the direction of what's lighter, what's freer, what's more true for me, what would bring me the most joy? Would it be going back to school, or would it be to contribute my talents to something that I really love? So that makes sense in terms of quantum leaps, how a person could busily position themselves for that to occur. So I'd like to ask, because people listening right now might be recognizing a loop that they've been living in, and what would you want them to know about what's possible from right here where they are now?
From right here where they are now, please engage in the practice of mindfulness and mindfulness exercises. Look at your moment to moment experience, be aware of it without judgment. Just make peace with where you are right now. Breathe into it, even if it's only temporary solace from the loop and from the turmoil. You're putting yourself into a restorative state. And when you're in a restorative state, that's when you are fully resourced. You have access to your creativity, your strategy, your joy. And so start there. See how that works. I actually, I hope it's appropriate to bring this up, but I, if your listeners are interested, I do have a free gift for anybody that might be interested. It's called the Loop Locator.
Yeah, I actually downloaded it. It was really good, and we'll add it on the MINDTRX site so that people will have access to that.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So yes, if you're stuck in a loop, you can engage the practice of mindfulness by just sitting still and taking in your breath, feeling the air come in, feeling the air come out. Quickly shift your environment. If you're inside, take a walk outside. If you're outside, come in and make your favorite beverage and call a friend. You can like quickly shut that loop down and get back to that restorative place again. And if you can get really practiced at that, you're going to be in tremendous shape. And mindfulness, and this is what I bring, to my corporate clients. It is, it's what will give us that even playing field with the bunny rabbits, right? Being able to think creatively, to see a future, to, again, be able to laugh and forget about that stuff just temporarily, get that loop stopping its cycle. It's just a tremendous skill that everybody has access to.
Yeah, I love the idea that wherever we are, we can be present and sensing what's there for us instead of trying to predict and control, just to sense and respond and to pause throughout the
Yes.
day. As a meditation teacher of mine said, you don't have to spend 20 minutes twice a day meditating. You can find 2 to 3 minutes to just drop into a place of silence. So I really like your idea just to be present and accepting, embracing and appreciating all the good that's within and all around us at this moment. I mean, we are so profoundly resourced, and yet society really tries to teach us how much lack and limitation there is. So thank you for all that messaging. It's quite powerful. As a final thought, anything you would like to send as a blessing to our listeners?
Absolutely. Freedom is just a breath and a mindset shift away. You don't have to suffer. There is a way out of the loop. You have the power to create anything that you want. And I hope your listeners gain so much from you and from this series, from this podcast show. It's so incredible. And please take away that no matter what your suffering is, that we can mine for that blip, get it out, and get you moving forward into the vision that you have for your life.
Gorgeous. Thank you so much, Mary. Wonderful to be with you. Really appreciate your work, and I hope all of our listeners will really tune in and get what's there for them next. Thanks so
Yes.
much. Peace and
Thank you.
blessings.
You too. Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Mary Petto. Her insights into subconscious loops, emotional safety, and how perception shapes experience offer a refreshing and empowering way to understand personal change. To learn more about Mary and her work, visit her website at portablevisions.com. And now, in the second part of the podcast, it's just you and me. I'll show you how to use the paraliminal audio sessions in the MINDTRX app to help you apply what we explored today, especially if you want to release old patterns, quiet mental noise, and return to a calm, creative, fully resourced state. If you're new to paraliminals, these guided audio sessions engage your whole mind, conscious and non-conscious, in about 20 minutes. They're designed to reduce internal resistance and support lasting shifts without effort or strain. In the next segment, I'll highlight several themes from today's conversation, including breaking subconscious loops, restoring emotional safety, shifting perception, and allowing quantum leaps to emerge. And I'll recommend specific paraliminals to help you integrate these ideas into your daily life. Let's get started. Hello again. This is the follow-on to my conversation with Mary Petto. We were talking about rapid transformation, quantum leaps. We're talking about law of attraction. And there are a number of really key paraliminals that can assist in these various areas that we have explored together. So I've selected 5 different areas that were themes that emerged from our time together. One is ending mental loops. And the key there is without having to relive the past. Second is working directly with the non-conscious mind. Woohoo, because that's what I like doing most. The third is emotional resolution and the idea of creating safety, a sense of safety for the nervous system. The fourth is creating quantum leaps and finally integrating a new way of being. So on a daily basis, you're really in a place to sense and respond how to be free and how to live from a place of joy so that we are in an ongoing way being pulled toward the greater expression of who we are. So let's talk about this first area, the idea of ending mental loops that may be happening. Essentially, what we want to do is we want to resolve what's happening inside of us, the response patterns that we're engaging in, without having to revisit the early stories that may have placed it there, and in essence, re-traumatizing ourselves about it. So there are 2 ways, 2 paraliminals that are really effective at this. One is called the new behavior generator. The first session within that talks about, hey, we did the best that we could given our current awareness. How was my mind attempting to help me in that situation where I was in a loop, and what would I like instead? And then second session is who's living the way that I would really like to live so that I could then model that way of being. The second paraliminal is the new history generator, which essentially allows us to have our history from our very earliest memory to the present be there without judgment, without having to re-experience any of it, and recognize that there are a number of different ways in which we could be thinking about our own history and how would I like to think going forward? In other words, what is the restorying of my life going to look like as my trajectory goes forward from here? So, new behavior generator, new history generator, really powerful recordings. The second area is working directly with the non-conscious mind. This is based on the idea that Mary and I were referring to in our dialogue that real change happens when we're able to communicate more directly with the non-conscious mind and putting less of an emphasis on the direction that our conscious mind is giving us. Now, that has a tendency to happen through imagery, through metaphor, from feeling, and from having indirect communication that's encouraging and supportive of a new way of moving forward. There are two paraliminals really helpful in this. One is called self-love. I love it because it really changes our habitual inner dialogue pattern. We recognize that we've got a past self and we've got a future self and we've got our present self. Let's all get together and let's be supportive of how to live going from here on. The second paraliminal is personal genius, which really gives us access to a type of intelligence that's not purely linear and logical like we would have learned in school, but it really gives us access to a broader understanding of who we are capable of being. Buckminster Fuller said, "We're all born geniuses, but we're systematically degeniused." So, what we want to do is we want to re-emphasize and reconnect with that natural accelerated learner that's within us and that part of us that can create a future starting right now. The third area is the idea of emotional resolution and creating a sense of safety for our nervous system. Because when the nervous system feels safe, change is able to really accelerate. And resolution isn't about pushing harder. It's about allowing the nervous system to stand down. What Mary referred to is the difference between the sympathetic, which is push, 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 and the parasympathetic, which is the healing part of our nervous system. And two paraliminals will help a lot. I think every paraliminal session is good because it really trains us to turn within and create a sense of safety in the now moment. But one is deep relaxation, which takes that capacity and really spreads it throughout every aspect of our physical being. Very powerful. It's one of the longest paraliminal recordings. Most of them are 20 minutes. That one I think goes 35 or 37 minutes. The second paraliminal is overcoming overwhelm. And in it, I teach the basic process of dropping in. What I referred to at the end of my dialogue with Mary was this idea of taking a few moments throughout the day to just drop into this place of silence and resourcefulness. And overcoming overwhelm really helps to do that. It helps to stabilize what would otherwise be emotional reactivity patterns that go on. We get triggered by something and then we're out of state. Instead, we can observe the thing that normally would have triggered us and it doesn't shake us. She referred to what's called mindfulness, and mindfulness is an embodied awareness of ourselves in this now moment. Very helpful, really powerful. The fourth area is about creating quantum leaps. And I wanted to understand from Mary's perspective what that means. And the idea is that profound shifts that can occur in our lives don't necessarily have to happen in a step-by-step fashion. She described somebody who wanted to take an executive position and then created all of these ways in which she might get there. But the idea that we could get there without all of those ways means that we have to let go of the how we're going to get there and focus more on what it is we're choosing and to approach that with a sense of opportunity, freedom, and joy. Quite powerful. So the paraliminals that can help in this area, number one, prosperity. If you've ever heard any of my podcasts before, you know I really like to come back to the prosperity paraliminal for good reason. It basically assists us in aligning our internal expectations, our emotions, and the sense of what's possible. So it shows us that, hey, the universe is abundant and it's always conspiring to help us move to the fuller expression of who we are and why we're here. Prosperity really is at the heart of that. The other paraliminal that could be very helpful is gratitude. Now, gratitude essentially conditions the mind for accepting and appreciating what is. Now, I think based on the conversation I had with Mary, that gratitude and the joy paraliminal would be great. But for sure, if I had to limit, I would say prosperity and gratitude are going to be really helpful in this regard, creating these quantum leaps because my nervous system understands and knows this is possible for me. And when I approach it in a sense of surrendering that I need to know how it's going to happen, but just trusting that it can and will occur, now I'm really open to seeing opportunities and being able to act on those opportunities when they present themselves. The fifth and final area or theme, I would say, is this idea of integrating a new way of being. Because resolving some kind of internal loop or trauma really is only the beginning. Being able to live from this idea of a new way of being organized internally, new neural connections that lead me to where I want to go, and being able to be effortlessly and consistently on target without having to have this stress-filled vigilance of everything that's going on around me. So certainly the self-discipline paraliminal is going to be quite helpful because it's going to support an idea of consistently operating from this new way of being without any kind of sense of force or struggle. And then the second paraliminal would be living the law of attraction that I did with Jack Canfield. Quite powerful. Now, there's another one called automatic pilot that could help a lot. Once you know how it is you want to be living on a daily basis, automatic pilot helps us really approach certain normally stressful or difficult situations with the sense of getting out of my own way and just allowing it to occur. Automatic pilot's quite powerful in that. Generally speaking, in the work that Mary has done in the area of the law of attraction, living the law of attraction would really be spectacular. So these are the areas: ending mental loops, working directly with an unconscious mind, emotional resolution and safety within, creating quantum leaps and integrating a new way of being. Play with these paraliminals, create your own listening program. If any of these things that we've been talking about together, Mary Petto and I will, these are really going to help. And be sure to look up more of Mary Petto's resources as well. That's it for now. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you on the next MINDTRX podcast. Peace and blessing. Thanks for joining me today. I applaud your willingness to maximize your potential. You can easily use the paraliminal audio sessions in the MINDTRX app to stimulate your non-conscious mind, that's your inner mind, to reduce any resistance in your life and propel you toward the success you want. Go to www.mindtrax.com/go. These amazing audio tools have helped millions, and I encourage you to bring them into your life today. Be sure to be back for more episodes of the MINDTRX podcast. You'll find insightful conversations with authors, experts, and thought leaders, all devoted to improving your life's experience. And if you found value in this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Your support helps us to keep the momentum of transformation going. Thanks again for being here on the MINDTRX Podcast.